I think I prefer to just look at what I like. I think I do that out of, interest and curiosity. But as far as trends in fashion go, I just never really, I guess it's just I don't trust the source of who reports these trends. It's never been my thing. Let's see, books. Well, I love to read. I don't get a chance to do it as much as I'd like to, although lately I've been reading a lot. One of the books that I read when I was young was The Great Gatsby, which has always been my favorite book. And it inspired the name of our fragrance, Daisy, because it was named after Daisy Buchanan. Well, it was named after my dog, Daisy, but she was named after Daisy Buchanan. So I'd say that book had a pretty profound and lasting effect on me. I learn most when I listen. And that's not very easy for me. I always find myself talking and explaining and trying to make myself understood. But actually, when I remain curious and listen and focus on what I'm listening to, that's where learning comes in. It's hard to tune out sometimes all the information that we're bombarded with, but when we can focus on something, or when I can focus on something and listen, that is definitely where growth and learning comes. I try to be present for what's going on now. I don't, and nor have I ever really put a lot of effort into predicting the future or trying to figure out what that might look like for me. In fashion, we're always thinking ahead to the next season. So I think there's that kind of forward thinking. But in terms of having a master plan and, what we'll leave behind, or what my legacy might be, or what I'd like to see the company look like in the future, I'm much more organic about those things. And I think what's important is what's happening now. And the rest is something we have to work towards, but it's out of our control, really. I think probably the greatest opportunity for me, or the one that was most life-changing in terms of my career and my life, was as a student at Parsons School of Design during our senior show. I presented work, which was a big undertaking. I kind of went above and beyond what was expected of each of us students. And I presented work that got the attention of my business partner, Robert Duffy, who was in attendance. I think, although I had prior opportunities in a small way, that was the one where I would say it was really life-changing. I got the opportunity to design a collection, and I really had no experience in doing that. And yet somebody who believed in me gave me that opportunity. I think that my being prepared for an opportunity meant that I was willing to take this leap of faith. And even though I didn't know what I was doing, I was willing to ask questions, and I was willing to figure it out and to make it work. So I did what I know how to do, which was ask people who knew what to do, how I did things. And by gathering information and trial and error, I was able to deliver what was expected of me, which was this kind of junior type collection, or contemporary type collection. So I think people around me would beg to differ with what I'm about to say, but I don't think I've ever been able to maintain any kind of calm. I have a inner anxiety and stress going constantly. And I think that while the end result might come across as something that was done with confidence and self-assuredness, it's not true. I stress things, most things, and I'm anxious about putting work out into the world. I don't know, sometimes I feel like that benefits me. It certainly doesn't feel good internally, but it may be just that's what my process is. Although I know logically in my head, like worrying about something isn't going to solve it. I think that fear is a motivator. So I've come in some ways to accept that it's not about eliminating stress and it's not about eliminating fear. It's about recognizing them and just trying to do the next right thing. And when these thoughts, these stressful moments come about, just recognize them and keep going. My journey has changed, not so much in the actual process or, in the making of a collection, pictures or whatever creative situation I might be involved in. My process has really not changed. So it's the enlightenment that has changed. It's this recognition that history tells me that it's going to happen and it's usually good. Some people might not like it and I might find fault with it, but it will be good because that's what we do. That is the result of the work we do, is we make something creative and deliver it in a creative manner, and it is good. So again, history tells me, my history, our working history tells me that will be the result, and the process will remain some version of what I just described. Well, I don't worry too much about commercial viability. I think that one of the most wonderful luxuries I have right now is that with my team, we get to tell a story and express a fantasy. And we do that, in a smaller way than we used to do it, but that's what we do. But what comes out of that is inspiration and energy and enthusiasm from the rest of the company and the people who are involved, the handbag team and others who are involved in making a more democratic commercial product. I think they take the energy and excitement from what it is that we do on this non-commercial level, and they turn it into something. They turn that energy and that inspiration, that creativity into something that people can access and they can buy and that is available. And I think that's how we've sort of mapped out how we do things, and how we can support the creativity and feed the commercial. Well, everything we do, I'd say, has something in it that I've learned from. Sometimes it's the same lesson over and over again, and I'm just too stubborn to actually learn from it. But then other times, like I said, even if I take away is this accumulation of lessons that proves to me that something good will come of what we're doing. And that's a good and useful lesson. I also think I had a lot of real learning experiences, a type that I really enjoyed when I was working in Paris for Louis Vuitton. And I got to work with different artisans. And I think that happens more there, especially in Paris, than it does here. Although we do work with different creative people, there's nothing like working for a Paris house and having all those incredible people accessible to you, and not only accessible, but more than willing and happy to work with you. That to me was one of the most valuable experiences that I've ever had. And it was also kind of a dream come true type experience where, something I dreamt of creatively became available to me. And so that opportunity was great. Social media. Well, there is a lot of information out there. I'm not gonna deny that. There's a lot of information, and I think I probably, like many people, have gone down a rabbit hole, started innocently enough looking at something and then going down some rabbit hole of useless information. But, it was that moment I was hypnotized by it and got sucked in. But typically I follow people whose work I'm interested in. That's what I'm most exposed to. And instead of getting down on myself for being, inspired or influenced by those people whose work I do admire, I just kind of accept that I am who I am and we are who we are and we work the way we do. But again, I don't think there's any need to shut out that information in order for us to be creative. Being people who love fashion, I think sometimes, the work of others that we love is also something that inspires and drives us in a way, not to recreate what they do, but to stimulate the kind of instincts we have and say yeah, we believe in what we're doing because this is kind of evidence that it's happening in other places and manifesting itself in different ways. So if anything, I think you just have to become a good editor, or one has to be a good editor, and have the, select the information that you do want to let in, and then allow that to be inspiring if that's what it is. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I didn't really have a single mentor, and I think some people who I consider mentors, they were real people, but they were imaginary in terms of their mentorship. I mean, the people whose work I looked up to, and the designers who I really admired, they were my imaginary mentors. I think when I first got the job at Perry Ellis, Perry was no longer there, but he was a designer whose work I looked up to. When I first met him, I was a teenager, and he recommended that I go to the school. And I always kind of feel like he mentored me in terms of making my decision easy. I had somebody I looked up to who was giving me some kind of suggestion or advice, and I took it. So although we never worked together, he did kind of serve as that role in my young life. And he was my critic at Parsons, and gave me suggestions and looked at my work in a way that I felt that he was somewhat a mentor, yeah. I think in choosing someone to work with or collaborate with, I think of everything we do as a collaboration in a sense. And so I am drawn to the work of a particular person or persons. And then, I meet with them and talk. And I think if something clicks, it's kind of instinctive. And both parties are willing to take this leap of faith to make great work together. It is that situation, though, that you never really know. You can love somebody's work and then try to work with them, and it doesn't work out the way you'd hoped. But I think our instincts are pretty good, and my instincts are pretty good in terms of creative people to work with. And I've never really been disappointed because, through these collaborations, something good has always arose. Yeah, I think you gather information, you're attracted to what they do creatively, and then you instinctively decide who you believe will click best with you.